Well, welcome you guys back into my next video over here. I am today going to be speaking about how to self-absorb. I need you to understand that when you're self-absorbing something, you have to be self-absorbing positive information all day, because you are the sum of all the ideas that you have accumulated every single day. You have to understand your habits today are the information you heard. You have to understand that in order for you to self-absorb every day, you have to love yourself every day. You have to be a person of great intent. You have to be a person who's far greater than yesterday. And then you understand that to be self-absorbed is to be self-loved. You have to understand you have to love yourself every single day in order for yourself to self-love yourself and be self-absorbed. You have to understand that those people who self-absorb themselves also love the spotlight much more because they love themselves more. And you understand that those people who are much more successful are the ones who are loving themselves more either way. You have to understand that it's really about self-love, and to be self-absorbed is to be a better person in the process and making sure that you're focusing on the inside rather than the outside, because self-absorbed people never care about the outside world and what's going on around them. I mean, they care about what's going inside and what kind of diet today is going to help you to really make sure that you're a better person, because most people are doing poison today. I realize they're doing drugs. I realize they're doing a lot of negative information in the world, and they're too much into politics and the coronavirus and all that's going on in the world outside of me. You have to understand that it's really what's going on inside today, and what is Jesus doing today, because you have to ask yourself every single day on what's happening inside and never be absorbed in the outside world, because that way you understand to be self-absorbed. I realize that when I'm self-absorbed every single day, I realize that what I do is I make sure that I journal every single day. I journal my life, and I make sure to plan and orchestrate my life in a way that's much better than yesterday. I'm doing something in according to achieving my goals, which is 3 hours of video content every single day. I make sure that it's my day 9 today on the streets, and you understand that in day 9, I've done around 27 hours of video in 9 days. You have to understand that is a course that I make, and although I'm a person who's self-absorbed, I can do it now. I can really realize that I can do it because I'm self-absorbed. I'm a person who understands self-love. I'm a person who does do peak performance every single day. So in order for myself to realize that in order for me to be self-absorbed every single day, I have to focus on myself more than other people. And that way I have more self-love for myself, because the outside world and the people that you see never care about you. You have to understand that you are the only one who cares about you in life. You have to understand that you need to be a person who has, or else you have to be a person who has more energy than yesterday. You have to be a person who has more happiness than yesterday. You have to be a person who is more talented than yesterday. You understand? So be a person of that caliber. I'm always rich or better, and that way you understand I'm always unblocking any resentment or jealousy that I may have, because you understand that your jealousy and your hate for other people is never you. You have to understand it's really your ego. You have to understand that in order to be self-absorbed, you have to become more aware. You have to understand that your subconscious mind is the ego mind. You have to understand that you are the awareness that you possess, and the more information you have, the more awareness you have. So if you don't read, you're going to be the subconscious mind, which is the autopilot. I mean, the ego is going to just self-destruct you, and is going to cause you suicide. So make sure that you tackle your ego every single day and be on the offense about your mindset every single day, and get some positive information in you every single day. And that way you're going to be a better person. You're going to do something far greater. I realize that today I'm really much stronger than yesterday, because I've been doing 9 days on the street, which is 27 hours of video content every single day. In terms of 3 hours a day for 9 days, you understand 27 hours of content I've done, and I've been a better person throughout. I've been making sure that no matter what, I lift myself far better than anybody else, and that way I understand it's not a competition. Although you understand to be a self-absorbed, you have to realize and focus on yourself much more than yesterday. You have to be a person who's more self-interested and making sure that you are accumulating more riches. And in order to do that, you never do it with money, you do it with self-discipline. You understand? So self-discipline is to be a self-absorbed person. You have to understand that those people who have self-discipline are going to be, I realize they're going to be self-love people, and they're going to be people who have more high performance. You understand? So be that kind of person who has more high clarity in your life. You understand that those people who do that each and every day are going to be the ones who are reading more and are also leading more in aspects of life, in terms of communication and leadership, and also in terms of delayed gratification. You have to understand that those people who are delaying gratification every single day are the ones who are positive and are also inspiring. You have to understand that you have to be that type of person who's positive every single day, and to learn your communication skills every day. You have to understand I'm always learning my communication skills. I'm always looking to better myself in my communication, because my communication is how I look, and it's also how I feel, and it's also my habits, and it's also where did I go today, and what schedule do I have today, and what is on my mind today. You understand? So it's also what did I write today and what kind of videos did I produce today. I realize that it's also who did I talk to today. I realize that it's also who did I talk to today and what did I read today to get myself further ahead. I realize no matter what, that you understand that self-absorbed people are ones who love themselves in a greater extent. So to love yourself every single day is to be a more successful person, and it's also to have much more clarity and also more drive and determination, which is also motivation. I realize that drive and determination is another word for motivation, and to get motivation in daily life, you have to increase your energy. So the only way to do that is self-discipline. You have to understand that those people who self-love themselves much more are the ones who have more self-discipline in the process. You have to understand that when you have no emotions in terms of life, when you're feeling weak in the body, use your mindset. You understand? Use your mindset up here and start using your brain more. You have to understand that when I feel weak in my body, I then use the mindset to talk and to do my life. I realize that when my mindset's weak, I go into my body and my emotions, and I realize that my body and emotions have full of energy, and then I push myself to communicate with my emotions. I realize now I feel a bit weak in my body right now, although my mindset is really strong. I realize I have a strong mentality. You understand? So I never know anything. I'm a person who never knows. You never say you know in communication. So when you're public speaking in a Toastmasters event, or you're going and public speaking, you don't always say you know. You know nothing. You don't say you know in your communication, because that way you understand that you know nothing. I know nothing, because we're going to learn and grow today. Because when you know something, you'll never learn, you'll never grow. You have to understand that know-it-alls are people who are called experts, and they never learn and grow. You understand? So be a person who's a student throughout life, and realize that to be a student is to be everything. And realize that no matter what in life, you're going to always do something according to interest. And what's interesting for you right now is so you be self-absorbed in yourself more than other people, which is just focus on yourself much more. You have to understand that those people who focus on themselves much more are likely to go inside, and inside the body, and I realize that when they go inside the body, I realize they're not looking for guts and intestines and the heart rate and all of that. You have to understand it's really that you're looking inside for everything. You're looking to yourself, for something greater, to understand that nobody else is going to solve your problems, because you're looking inside for your own responsibility, so you can take ownership of your life and control your life much better. So in order to do so, you need some more information. And information is like fuel for the petrol in terms of for the car. And you have to understand, you never do it for objects, you never do it for the car, you never do it for the petrol, you do it for something greater. Although you understand that information is like fuel for the car. You understand? So I know nothing, you have to understand, you never say you know, you understand that you never ever do it for the car, you never do it for the possessions of this world. Although that information is like fuel in terms of the car fuel. So that's a better way to say it, because you never do it for the car, you never do it for objects, you never do it for the outside world, you do it for something greater. You have to understand it's never about materialistic possessions in life. I never care about the technology I have. I realize I care about what I can do with the technology. You understand? Because I give you these audio programs, I put it online, and that's something that's going to help you. And that's why I get the technology that I do, so that I can brand myself in terms of megapixel cameras, so I can do some photo shoots and stuff like that, so that I realize I can always do better than yesterday, and I can always make sure that I'm always uploading content that's important to me in terms of life. So I realize that when I do it to me, I do it for me in something greater only. I never do it to me. You understand? I realize that when I'm teaching something, I'm always growing for something bigger than myself. So that way you understand that when you're teaching growth and growth capacity and growth potential and skills required to grow as a person, you'll also be teaching every single subject in the world, because you understand that one subject that you can teach all subjects. You have to understand it's just that wisdom of life that you need. You have to understand that you have that wisdom of life right now. You can start your business today, you can start to do something on the street, you can start to public speak, you can start to communicate much more than you do, and you understand that communication is a slow journey, although you understand that you need to communicate more and more and more throughout time, so you can communicate faster and faster and faster and faster, so you can comprehend faster and faster and faster and faster, so that you can teach faster and faster and faster and faster. I realize that you need to spin your propeller, which is your drive. You understand? So you have to be that person who understands that your propeller is the thoughts you have, and then you put them into the camera, you put it into video, you put it into audio. You know nothing, I know nothing, because we're both learning, we're still growing. You have to understand it's really about being a better person, and that way you understand to be a more self-absorbed person, because when you're a person who's focused on other people in the outside world and the matters of the outside world, you're going to be causing drama, and you're going to realize that drama is never going to get you there, because drama never got me there. You have to understand that I've become more self-absorbed, and I trimmed out all of the drama and negativity outside of me, because even though the outside world may be spinning around and also going downhill, I realize that my inner world is going uphill. You understand? So that's the only important matter in life. You have to understand it's never about what's happening outside and how ridiculous the economic climate is in terms of the outside world, although you understand that how is your inner world, and is your inner world doing better? You understand? So you have to realize that outside, you never focus outside, because self-absorbed people never focus outside. You have to understand it's called self-absorption, and that way you understand to go inside. I'm richer, better. I'm never resenting anything. I realize that when I go on top of the ego, I realize that I'm always teaching more and more so that I can have a smaller ego. I realize that each and every day I have to do 3 hours of content to be on top of my ego. I have to conquer my mind. I have to conquer the ego each and every day. So in order for me to do that, I have to teach more and more and more, and I have to read more and more and more, and I have to realize to give you more and more, and that way I have to be more compassionate and lead you and grow at the same time. So it's all really just growth. You'll understand that once you have a nice, beautiful schedule, you'll understand to be a more self-absorbed person because you can do it. You'll understand how to grow, and that way you understand every single book on the planet, which is going to teach you more ideas on how to grow. So make sure you're feeding your soul with ideas every single day, and that way you understand information much greater. Because I've read over 1,000 books in my life. You have to understand, I understand each and every single book. I understand each and every single book about the ideas that's been given and what they've been speaking about. You have to understand that when I go and watch people who are 60 years of age, I realize that I pick up their communication skills and how they talk at that age. You have to understand, then I make sure no matter what, that I go speak faster than them and better than them at my age. You understand? So my age is now. You have to realize your age is always now. You have to realize your age is this time round. You understand? So be that kind of person who understands to be a better person. You never are a person who knows it all. I'm never a person who knows it all. I realize that I'm a student of the game. I realize I'm a student of life. I teach what I can. I teach you what I can. I teach you everything because I see everything. I don't know everything. I just see the truth. I never know the truth because I can never describe the truth, although I see the truth. You understand? You have to understand, you can see the truth, you can never describe the truth, you can see it. You have to understand, then you just talk based on anything. You have to understand, I can do anything, although you just realize that when you're a person who says you cannot do something, just make sure that you say, I can do everything. I realize that in life, you can never ever describe the truth. I promise you, although you can see the truth. You can see where the truth is going, and you'll see what you are in terms of life. You'll see something in terms of the afterworld in Jesus Christ. You understand that there is an afterworld because you can just see by Jesus' habits and how Jesus lived. You understand? So be that kind of person who understands Jesus Christ, and also go follow the Buddha and go follow people who have some information to give you that's really positive today. I realize that I go study all the religions of the world. I go study all the cultures, and I study all people. I see the Instagram and I see whether or not I can talk to them, because if they're people who are not interesting, I just stay away from them. You understand? So I go towards the interesting people, and I always ask myself, who is the interesting person today that's helping me? I realize that I asked myself questions recently. I said, who's around me really, let's say, helping me in terms of value? I mean, you have to understand that most people around you will never help you with anything, and that way you understand that when I get on the street, I promise you, most people laugh at me, and they never do anything in terms of following me or something like that, because guess what? They're jealous of me. You understand? So I'm a person who's building this big hype around Brisbane because I'm showing up every single day. Although you have to understand, I'm showing up for my growth. I'm never showing up for anything else. You have to understand, it's really that I grow and I give you more of this information because you guys understand how I am. You understand that I'm here to give you business. I'm here to give you some ideas. I'm here to give you something to profit from. You understand? So I'm giving you always something to think about in the moment. You have to understand, it's never about thinking in the head. You have to understand, you think in a journal. You always write it down. You write it down, you write it down, you write it down. You understand? So you understand that, for example, the woman who created Harry Potter, I realized that she never thought about it. I realized that she went and wrote about it. You understand? So you have to go and write about your life. You never think about your life, you go and write about your life. And that way you understand that you're going to enjoy the process much more when you're writing about your life than thinking about your life. And that way you're going to understand to be more self-absorbed. You have to understand that my journal is my plan B, and my plan B is my plan A. So my plan A is to make sure that I do my videos. I have to do my videos first every single day, although my plan B, I start with my plan A, which is my journal. And my journal is my plan B, although it's my plan A. You have to understand, I call it my plan B, and my plan B is always plan A. I realize that each and every day I have 2 schedules, and because I have 2 schedules, I wrap it up into 1 schedule all the time. So I pick from 2, I go into 1. And what are my 2 schedules? I either have the 6 p.m. rule today, or I have the 1 hour rule. And I realize that it's really easy. I realize that the 1 hour rule represents 23 hours of the day. I must be inside accommodation, and I must be doing inside work. You understand? And then 1 hour of the day, which is a 1 hour rule, I must go just get my food or get some clothing or something like that and come back straight away. You understand? So that's my 1 hour rule. Or I may have the 6 p.m. rule, which states I must go from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and I must be walking around Brisbane or any area where I am every single day to just make sure that I'm always outside accommodation from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And my 6 p.m. rule is my curfew. I have a 6 p.m. curfew to make sure I'm always inside my accommodation before 6 p.m. So before the day, in terms of the next day, I realize that the next day is my 6 p.m. rule because I'll be doing some street performance today, and I make sure no matter what that I'm always doing street performance before 6 p.m. I realize that these days I'd go around from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. I realize I used to do 3:30 to 6:30. I realize now it's 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. because somebody else is sharing my spot. Although you understand that when somebody else wants to share your spot, you just make a compromise. You say, I'll be at this time over here, you be at this time over here, and make sure that you never come on my time and I never come on your time. You understand? And that way, you never go on his time or her time because you have to keep to your word. You have to keep to your compromise. You understand? So compromise is a big part of integrity. And if you start trouble and you go on the person's time, just make sure that you leave straight away so you never cause arguments and violence over something stupid. You understand? So never cause violence ever again. I promise you that's the smartest way to be self-absorbed because nobody loves to hit you and you never love to hit other people. You understand? Because nobody loves to be beat with something in the head. You understand? I promise you nobody loves to get killed and nobody loves to kill in this life. I promise you I never met a successful killer. I never met a fat vegan in my life. I never met a successful officer in terms of fame. You understand? Who's very popular and doing something amazing. You have to understand that you're going to be a person who understands that you need to do better than a police officer. You need to do better than the 9-to-5 job. You have to understand it's never your line of work in terms of 9-to-5. I promise you that you can teach skills and how to do the 9-to-5 much better, although I do suggest you do minimal wage all the time. I promise you I need you to work 15 hours a week while you're working more on yourself than a 9-to-5 job, and that way you understand Jim Rohn's point of view when he says work on yourself more than you do a 9-to-5 job. I realize that for the next 73 years I'll be working off the 9-to-5 job. I mean, I'm never working a 9-to-5 job. You have to understand because I chose to realize that I have a beautiful business over here, and that way I understand that if I ever had to go to a 9-to-5 job, I would work only minimum wage. I would just work 15 hours a week and that's it. You understand? Because the 9-to-5 job never makes me happier, and you understand that money never makes me happier. You have to understand that most people are having sex for money. You have to understand that's the worst because guess what? When you have too much sex in life, what's going to happen is you're going to have too much pleasure, and pleasure is going to kill you, and pleasure is going to make you erupt into flames. You have to understand that pleasure and gratification is short-term resolutions to unhappiness. You have to understand that people who delay gratification are the ones who are staying away from sex and staying away from drugs and all of that nature in terms of pharmaceutical drugs and painkillers and all that, because the only reason to have sex is to have a kid, and that's it. You understand? So when you look at a non-human animal, what you understand is they have sex typically to just have a kid. I mean, they're never having sex over and over and over again because they're having no kids. I realize that that's a waste of time. I realize that's just a pleasure activity, and you're never doing sex for pleasure activities. You're doing it to have a kid, and that's it. I realize that when you have 5 kids in life, you just have sex 5 times in your life, and that's it. I realize that's how simple it is. You have to understand that those people who are always having sex over and over and over again without a resolution, I promise you those people are getting unhappier over time and they're just gratifying themselves. And I need you to be a person who's never gratifying yourself about anything. And you should understand that you delay food and you write about your food all day long. I realize that, for example, in my journal today, I realize that today I said I'll write about every single topic I can in my life. I realize that I wrote about music, I wrote about what's going on outside, I wrote about everything in life in terms of my life. You have to understand that it's never about what's going on outside. I realize it's about what's going inside because my journal really states what's going inside, and that way I always get to be self-absorbed in my journal. I realize that I always have to write about my food intake and how am I doing in my food today, and how am I doing in my day today, and what's my day going to look like today. I have to write about that because otherwise I think about it. I never think, so I write it down. Understand? So I do what James Smart says, which is feel your thinking. And when I feel my thinking, I realize I changed it to feel your thinking on paper, which is feel your thinking in your Pokédex phone. In a sense, so realize that I just write everything down. I can feel and I can write. I can also use my mindset, I can write. I realize that no matter what, each and every time I get on the street here, I get more powerful. I'm a much more better person in the process. I'm easier in terms of my life where I'm also tough on myself. You have to understand, I have an easier life because I'm tougher on myself. And how am I tougher? I stay away from pleasures. I stay away from sex. I stay away from people in terms of other people. I never stay away from myself, although you understand I'm very self-absorbed. And I stay away from drugs. I stay away from most aspects of life. And I just talk to nobody online. I talk to nobody online because I never need to talk with other people. I talk to myself all day long, and that's all I ever need. In a sense, so when I talk to somebody, I just read what other people have got in terms of information, and that's it. I'm living my life. I'm living a very beautiful life, and I also came to the conclusion today that it's a nice, beautiful reason. Although you understand that in life there is no conclusions, I realize that it's just an idea. That, for example, when I have a wife or girlfriend or something like that, in terms of life, you understand that I'll make sure that I'll have 5 kids in life, and I'll just have sex 5 times in a year. Or in terms of my life, you understand? So, I mean, that's the only purpose. And the reason for that is when you're a person who never has sex with your husband or wife, I mean, I realize the longer you're not having sex with them, I mean, what's going to happen is you're going to be more self-absorbed, and you're going to be a person such as a guy or a woman who is really, really, let's say, who has more energy, because usually the guy gets more weak when he has sex. You have to understand the woman gets more energetic when they have sex, although you understand that when a guy doesn't have sex, a person who is a guy is going to have more energy and is going to be able to lead better, and so is the woman, because when 2 couples are always having sex, I promise you what's going to happen is they're going to be wasting time. And the whole point is to go away from sex and to just have a kid. I realize that you need to focus on kids and never sex, because it's about having kids and never just having sex. Understand? So realize that is a nice, beautiful transition from sex to kids. I realize that when you have kids, you have sex only. Understand? So make sure that you're just never the person who's having sex without kids. Understand? So, I mean, you may be a person who just never needs kids, although I need you to never have sex then. You understand? Because never be that type of person who's just going to have sex around. Realize that's never the way to go. But understand that when you're just having sex around, you're just abusing sex, and that's you abusing you. You never abuse yourself through pleasure. You never be a person who's gratifying yourself, because that way you're going to have less discipline. I realize that the person who's very fat is a person who's always gratifying themselves with food, and that's why they're so fat. I'm rich or better. You have to understand that no matter what, when you understand that when you're in a marriage, you have a wife or a husband before marriage, you have no sex before marriage, you understand? Because that way you understand what true relationship is. That it's never about the sex, I realize it's about the connection that you guys have with communication first, and then once you get married, then you have the sex, to have a kid only. I realize then you understand you have a kid, and while your wife is pregnant, you never have sex with her, you understand? Because she's pregnant. You understand? And then you'll realize that it's really about the communication and taking care of her now. You understand? Because you're having a kid now, and it's not about having sex with a pregnant woman anymore. You understand? So realize that you're never that type of person who's always doing that, and you're never a person who's having sex while your wife is pregnant. You understand? Because she's already pregnant, so she's having your kid, so just take care of her now. You have to realize that is a way to go. You have to realize that the best way is to make sure that when you're having a kid, you'll understand that it's really about connection in terms of communication and making sure that you guys are improving now. You have to understand that when you're a person who understands life, you're going to understand that it's really about stay away from sex as much as you can and just go to sex to have a kid, because you understand non-human animals, I mean, they have one season every single year where they just go to look for sex to have a kid, and that's it. I mean, they're just going to do that. I mean, they're not every single day having sex for no reason. You have to understand? I realize that sex is the only useful tool to have a kid, and that's it. I realize that most people are abusing sex because they believe they have to go having sex and sex and sex and sex because everybody else is having sex and sex and sex. I realize that's not the way to go. I realize the best way is to make sure that when you have sex, you're only having sex to have a kid, and that's it. I realize you think sex in the moment, you understand? Because when you're a person who's thinking too much sex, you never think too much sex. You think no sex, although you're really looking at the aspects of life where you're having a kid only. You're thinking kids over sex. And then you understand that because you're a person who is never gratifying themselves, you'll be more self-absorbed, because that way you understand that when you're a person who's having too much sex, you're going to be weak. You're going to be weak. You're going to have no energy. I mean, you're going to be wasting time. I mean, 2 hours of your life is a long time. I promise you, it's a long time. I promise you, 1 second of your life is a long time. I mean, never waste a second. I mean, never waste a second on anybody. And you should understand, I have a 5-minute rule where anybody who's talking to me, or else I give you 5 minutes. Or else I have to go. I have to go somewhere. I've got something to do. You understand? I've got something to grow with. I never need to talk with people. Or else I talk with them inside my video. I talk with them inside my journal. I talk with myself all day long. I am all the people in the world. You understand? I'm everything in my life. You have to understand that I need nobody else outside of me. I've got myself, and that's it. You understand? I am all I need in my life. You have to understand, I just look at Jesus and I go follow Jesus. You understand? Because that's my inspiration. I mean, that's my only inspiration in life. You have to understand that since I go towards Jesus, I understand how to live life much greater. You understand that Jesus is a person who understands that the world has to really, let's say, lift and has to have more population, although you understand that is for the reason because when you are having sex, you just have sex for having a kid, and that's it. And that way, you're doing it for something greater, and you're doing it for something in terms of a new experience. You have to understand that those people understand a better relationship are the ones who are doing better than yesterday. I promise you, you have to go sober, you have to be a vegan, you have to be a person who's a peak performer. You have to understand that you have to study everything. I mean, if you're ignorant about being a vegan, I promise you it's because that you've never learned the information. I promise you never studied the information, and because anything that you're ignorant about is because you've never studied it in the first place. I mean, you're never open to it. You have to be open to information in order to succeed. You have to understand, it's just learn 1% of every single topic, as Brian Tracy says, and start doing it today because nobody else is going to do it for you. You have to understand that nobody else is going to speak this video for me. I realize that I have to do it because it's my passion. I realize when you have a passion, you're going to do it. And when you're realizing that you're walking, you have to realize that nobody's going to walk for you in life, and it's your responsibility to walk yourself. In a sense, so you have training wheels, and you have training wheels all your life. You have always training wheels. You're always training yourself to become a better person in the process. In a sense, so be that kind of person who understands that when you're self-absorbed and doing better in the process, you understand there's always something greater to do. I realize there's always something greater to be in life, and it's a better person. I realize you always have to do something around the microphone, and you have to do something around audio and video work, and also writing in order for yourself to become a better person. You have to understand to just make sure that when you're in a relationship with another person, that you just make sure you're communicating more words, and that's it. And then once you have to have a kid after marriage, and that's it. You understand? So that's the only best way. And then when you have an extra year or whatever, and then you can have another kid, have just one more kid, and that's it. And then you focus on that. You focus on growing your family, and then you realize that when you can afford another kid, you just have another kid. And then, I mean, you can keep going, although you understand that you just use the purpose of sex to have a kid. I mean, you can only realize that if you're having one kid, you understand that it takes 1 year to even have a kid. So just have one sexual encounter that year where you have a kid, and that's it. Or else you've got what you need. You understand? You made your kid, and that's it. Or else that if you keep having sex over and over and over again, you're going to lose yourself. Or else you're going to waste time. I never need you to waste time. I need you to have more energy, guys. I need you to understand it's more energy that's going to help you. Or else that sex will never help you. Or else that people abuse sex in the marriage as well. Or else they're married and they believe that everybody who's married is going to have so much sex, so they're trying to catch up or something. You have to understand there's no catching up with anybody, or else it's not a competition, or else it's about delaying gratification. And that means to delay sex too. You understand? You delay sex until you have a kid, and that's it. Or else that the kid is the goal. Or else the sex is not the goal. Or else the kid is the goal. And you understand that is the best way to go. You have to understand you be that person who understands that when you're self-absorbed, you'll be a person who's positive, and that way you understand you have to keep growing, you have to keep giving information, and then when your mindset has no more information to give, you go into the emotions, and then you give information with the emotions. Because that way you understand that when you've worked your mind so much, and you've given so much information, you can go into the emotions, and then you can push yourself to talk more with your emotions. You have to understand that when you're weak in the emotions, it's because you have done something in terms of exercise or something like that to really, let's say, to lose that energy. Or else that when guys have too much sex, or else they get weak in the knees, or else they start getting weak and they're too weak, or else that everybody intimidates them then because there's people who are just always having sex. You understand? Because when you're having sex, you have to understand the man's fluid, and the more that person is giving the fluid, or else that energy, or else that's energy, and the more you are doing any pleasure activities, I promise you the more tired you're going to get. So a woman can get tired through alcohol and also anything that's pleasure activity as well. So even the woman does get tired with sex. Instead, so realize that you just stay away from the pleasure, and that way you have more stronger emotions to really live life, and you'll be happier in the process. You'll be happier in the process of living life to the greatest ability that you can. And you realize that anytime you live now, you'll be a person who has no pleasure, because it's never about the pleasure. I need you to understand that listening to music is pleasure. I need you to understand that giving this video is pleasure. I need you to understand that growing is pleasure. I need you to understand that staying away from negative people is pleasure. I need you to understand that having no drama is life. I realize that having no drama in life is pleasure. I need you to understand that being around better people is pleasure. I need you to understand that looking better is pleasure. I need you to understand that taking photos of yourself is pleasure. You understand? So being a more consistent person in what you're doing in growth is pleasure. I mean, that's all the pleasure in the world. I need to understand that talking to yourself in a journal all day long is pleasure. I promise you, that's more pleasure that you need. You understand? Because that's the only pleasure you need. You don't need anything that's you have to take inside or do with another human person. You understand? Because what people believe as pleasure is that they believe that something outside of themselves, like a drug or a stimulant or alcohol or cigarettes or something like a pharmaceutical medication, is going to give them pleasure or solve them problems. Or else that's not the way to go. Or else that, for example, with anybody in terms of a person, or else they believe that a person gives them pleasure. I promise you, a person never gives you pleasure. Or else the only person that can give you pleasure is you, and you do it through growth. And masturbation is another one that you have to stay away from because that is gratifying, and you have to stay away from that too. You understand that you stay away from the pornography and the masturbation, and that way you understand to be self-absorbed like that, and you'll be a better person for it, and you'll be happier in the process. You have to understand that masturbation and pornography is gratification. You have to stay away from it in order to be happier and to have more energy. You have to understand that the odds are against you, although you are number one. You have to understand that you be the odd number, and you have to understand that you just be a person who realizes that the outside world is against you. In a sense, so the crowd is always going to be against you, and I promise you, the crowd will say, no, that this woman has to go with this guy, and that you're ugly. I promise you, that's always the case. I promise you that the woman will say that in terms of the guys, and the guys will say that in terms of the woman. In a sense, realize that it's never about the crowd's view. You have to understand you're never average like them. You have to understand you be apart from them. I mean, you go your separate way, although you understand that inside we're all together, or else we're all one. Or although you're never the crowd, you're the person who's a misfit, you're the person who's unique, you're the person with your own name and your face, and you're going to brand yourself all your life. You have to understand that in life you have to promote yourself, and you have to be a person who's more self-absorbed to understand that you're never part of the crowd, you're something better than the crowd, because the crowd's view is never important. I promise you, what's important is your view of yourself. You have to understand that when you go the crowd's way, I promise you they'll kick you down and they'll say you're nothing. I promise you that you never look at the ground, you look at yourself, and that way you understand that you just lift the crowd and let them try to kick you down because you're too strong for them. In a sense, so be that kind of person who understands that you just go and grow yourself today, and be a person who is never pleasure-seeking today, and that way you understand that you have to go and grow anyway. You have to do something that's really going to communicate with you much better, and that's you. You have to understand, you have to communicate with yourself all the time. You have to realize that most people are jealous of me because of my communication skills and what I do and how I show myself every day, because I'm a person who is far succeeding them in terms of life. I realize I'm never succeeding them. I realize I'm never competing with them, although I'm just succeeding more than them. You understand? I realize I'm not competing with people. I'm rich or better. You have to understand. I'm not a person who goes on top of other people. I'm a person who goes on top of myself. I realize I'm always a person who is lifting myself in a better way. You have to understand. I'm lifting other people in a better way. I'm never competing with people. I'm never jealous of people. And when I find myself jealous, I go and read from the person I'm jealous. I go and study from them. I go and learn from them. I open my heart to them. You understand? So that's the only, I realize that's the only way that you can do anything. I realize that when you're jealous of somebody who's more successful than you, I promise you, you need to go and be a student of those people. You need to go and look at them more and be with them more and see why do you, I realize you have to ask yourself, why are you so jealous of this person? And why do you need to feel jealous of this person? Because it's never you that's jealous. You have to understand it's your ego. And you have to realize that you have to say it's your ego that's jealous. I mean, it's your ego that hates people, and it's your ego that gets negative and that needs outside circumstances and other people. You never need other people. I promise you what you need yourself the most, and you need to grow now today and learn some skills today in order to be more of who you need to be in terms of life. And who is that? I realize you need to be a grower. I realize you need to be a doer. I realize you need to be positive. I realize you need to do something. You need to do something extraordinary in a sense to be that type of. I realize that you need to be that type of rapport and person who is never boring in life. You never be boring. In a sense, so do something in life. I promise you, when somebody says that something you gave is nothing much, I realize that person is also nothing much in life. In a sense, so never be a person who says you've done nothing much in life, because that way you understand that your glass is empty. I need you to understand to go and say to that person, you gave $1,200 for your track. You have to realize, that's amazing, bro. I need you to go and double that. I realize, that's a nice, beautiful, rich mentality. I realize that when a poor person who has no skills comes up to you and he says, you gave $1,200 for your track, I promise you that's nothing much. I promise you that's something of rude nature. I realize though that I'm something much more than what I say, and I'm never nothing much. I'm something much greater. Although you never say that person is nothing much for giving money for their track to do something. You have to understand that $1,200 is something in life. You have to understand that any amount of number in terms of life is something, although number one is the biggest number in life. I realize it's never the $1 trillion that's the biggest number. I realize the number one is the biggest number, because without the number one, there is no number two, and there is no number three. You have to understand that number one is everything, and you have to be number one in life in order to be self-absorbed. You have to lift yourself the most, and then you can lift other people. I'm rich or better. You have to realize that each and every time I give some money in terms of my track, or I learn something that's really peaceful, or anything that's really going to help me in terms of serenity or tranquility, or something like enthusiasm and charisma, I go around those people who have more of that nature, and I pick up the attitude. I realize that attitude is what you're selling. So if you're around junkies and slang words and people who are really radio, you the person, I realize they're stupid people and they're too much entertainment. I never need you around those people, and I never need you to imitate them either. I need you to understand that you never go around those people who are using slang words and being stupid. I'm never stupid in life. You have to understand that when you're entertaining, you never entertain. I realize that today I said I'll never entertain again, because entertainment will never grow you. You have to understand what grows you is the best you. You understand? So be that person today. I need you to understand you be that person who's growing you all the time, because you deserve to grow each and every day. So you never grow through entertainment, and you never grow through making other people laugh, because then you understand Robin Williams, because he was the person entertaining other people, and guess what? He committed suicide. And so never be that person who's going to entertain other people. I never need you to go do drugs, because you see Avicii, you understand Avicii was doing drugs, and then you understand that he died at an early age. You understand? So never be that type of person who dies early. I need you to go long in life. I need you to understand that you learn from their mistakes. I need you to understand you learn from people's mistakes, and I understand that the world outside of you will never care about you, although the people that care about you are the ones who are lifting you. So be that person today. I need you to understand that if you're not lifting yourself, I promise you nobody cares about you. How are you today? I thank you. Otherwise, no matter what, you be a person that you be today much better. You'll be a better person today. You'll do something much better than yesterday. You'll do something that's worthwhile. You'll do something in terms of life that's going to grow you. And that way you understand that you'll be a person who's never a retard. I never need you to be a retard, although I never need you to make fun of people either. You understand? So be a person who's smarter than everybody else. I'm rich or better. And that way you understand that when you're rich or better, you understand you're doing something better. You be that type of person who understands that there is a greater way of life when you're giving more. And when you're giving more, you will be more self-absorbed. I realize that this is a nice, beautiful technique where I'm self-absorbed, because people are walking around me, although you understand that I'm self-absorbed because I'm looking at myself in the mirror, which is my Pokedex, and which is my phone. You understand? So because of that, I'm a person who's self-absorbed in my video, and each and every time I look at myself 3 hours every single day in my video, I love myself more. And that way you understand, the more I look at myself in the mirror, I promise you, the more I become successful. So it's really more attractive for yourself to be more inside a video and do more quality work, so that you can understand that it's the quality work that's going to get you there, and it's never the quantity. You have to understand that at first I gave you all the information. I gave you all the information since course 1. You have to understand each and every course of my life that I've ever given in terms of video is worth it, and it's really information. You have to understand, it's information to grow you. And I realized that I made no mistakes along the way, although I changed my face over time. What changed from course 1 to course this one? I realized that my body posture changed. I realized my confidence changed. I realized my communication skills changed. I realized my journey changed. I realized that I started traveling, and I started to pick up my content, and I started to produce 3 hours of content every single day rather than 20 minutes every single day. You understand? So you know nothing, I know nothing, and that way we're going to grow together. You have to understand that when I say you know, I don't know anything. You have to understand that you be a person who understands that public speaking means you know nothing, and that way you're going to grow much more. You're going to leave room for improvement. Always have to make sure that I know nothing, so that I can understand to overcome the ego. Because when you know something, I promise you that's the ego that's really getting in there. You have to understand you have to understand that you have an ego mind, and you have to overcome it each and every single day. You have to overcome it with your heart, and you have to understand that your heart must push you to grow your information together. You have to understand it's really that you go and read more and read more and read more, and as Albert Einstein said, the more information you have, I promise you, the more awareness you have, and that way the smaller ego you have. You have to understand you have to be on top of your ego all the time. You have to understand it's really that when you're confused about numbers, I realize it's because you're confused about your life. So realize that you never ever get confused about numbers. You have to realize you remove the numbers from your life, and let's boost up your skills each and every single day. You have to understand it's never about how much money do you have. Realize it's about how much courses do you have today. I mean, how many hours of courses in terms of video did you do today? Or else that's a better question than how much money do you have? Because 300 courses that I've done in terms of 1 hour each, you'll understand that's much more worth it than $1 million today. You understand? Because I'm priceless. I mean, you can never put a price on this video. You can never put a price tag on me. I mean, I never work a 9-to-5 job. Or else I'm not cheap, I'm not expensive, although I get myself affordable clothes every single day. I go where it's affordable, and that way I understand to go and measure up to Jesus Christ each and every single day, and that way I understand what passion is. I realize passion of the Christ, you'll understand that when you're watching the video of passion in Christ, you understand that you'll be a person who understands Jesus Christ much more. So go and watch something that's really a documentary about an animal or something like that, where it's going to be educational for you to watch. I realize that when you're watching action films, I realize it's all bombs and terrorizing and terror. I realize you never watch that. You never watch those movies because that's not going to help you. You have to understand that what's going to help you is something educational. I mean, it can be a cartoon movie that's educational. I mean, it can be something that's educational. You have to understand that anything that's educational you go watch. You can watch the documentary of Steve Irwin and how he done everything in terms of life. You can go and read about people. Or that will educate you. I mean, biographies. You can go and learn from biographies. You'll go and learn also from anything that's a true story. I mean, that you can learn from in terms of how that person was doing everything. And you go study people. You go study people. You go study animals. You go study life. You go study information. You go study how to develop yourself. I promise you that's the best information in the world. And that's your cinema. I promise you that's your Netflix every single day. You go and learn something that's going to help you. I promise you that's your Netflix today. I need you to understand that when you're just going and browsing through Netflix and watching each TV show episode and you're catching up, I realize that you're losing in life. I realize that you're the one person who must improve your life. So I realize that Netflix is never going to help you unless it's educational. You understand? So I realize that inside Netflix you have all these documentary with the animal channels. I realize that's helpful in order for yourself to learn about animals. I realize that's something educational. It's going to help you and it's going to increase your knowledge. I realize that's something that you can do. Although you understand that you never go watch Prison Break and all these Simpsons and all of that, because that never helps you. You have to understand what helps you is going to make you. So go around the people who make you better. You understand? Because guess what? You're the only person that can make you better. You understand? So when somebody's making you better, I realize it's something like somebody's giving you ideas to make you better. I realize that my informational products are full of commodities and information where you can pick up and then better your life. And that's the whole point of life. You have to understand that I used to get very negative around churches and people gathering up around churches to talk about Jesus Christ. I was very negative because the people around me were teaching me that religion and all of that is very negative. And then I stayed away from it, or I stayed away from religion and all of that. You have to understand that I started having a myth in terms of life, and you understand I went the wrong direction. And there's no wrong or right direction, although you understand you can either go up or down. I mean, you're either growing or losing. You understand you be a winner today, and that way you understand that you have to grow. You have to grow and do something that's really positive. You have to understand it's really about what you do today that's going to help you. And that way you understand you have to ask yourself better questions. You have to ask yourself something that's really going to help you. You have to understand that since I'm here today, I realize that I'm so self-absorbed in myself and I forget time. I forget that it's 43 minutes I've been doing this video. I forget about it because I'm so absorbed in what I say. And I lose myself in myself. I lose myself in my talk. And that's happiness. I feel dreaming. I feel like I'm lucid dreaming today. You understand? So I know nothing, although you understand I'm still growing. I'm still growing from my words. I'm still growing from what I'm doing. And I'm really vibing today because guess what? I'm each and every single day growing. I'm growing my communication skills. I'm growing in front of people and I feel much more confident now than I did on day one. You understand? So because of that, I show up every single day and I learn something every single day and I show myself every single day, and that way I learn the progress each and every single day. And because I learn the progress, I'm a progressive person who's growing. I'm a work in progress. And that way I understand I'm never perfect, although I'm better than perfect. You understand? Because I'm never limiting myself to what I say. I'm never limiting myself to what's happening in life. I'm always a person who's doing great. I'm always a person who's doing something foundational. I'm always a person who has something to say. I'm never a person who arrives at your door with nothing to say, because those are junkies. I realize those are people who are drug addicts. I realize they've got nothing in life to give you. I realize I come into your house, I give you something all the time. I always give you something. I'll give you a present before I even come in. You understand? So be that kind of person who gives presents all the time and has something to give. I realize that the best present that you can give somebody is some information products today. I realize that any information products you've done today, I promise you just go send it to them for free. I promise you that's something beautiful. I realize that information products such as my courses is the best information product in the planet because it's information driven and it's information that's really helped me to grow myself. So anything that's going to charge a business to grow is the best business in the world. So you have to understand that my business is the best business in the world because I'm a person who's better than yesterday. And you understand that my information is something to recollect and to really devour and really put into yourself because I've studied my information and I've took action upon it and I make sure to apply it. And because I apply it, I'm better than yesterday. And that's my business. I mean, my business teaches you to become better than yesterday. And here I am better than yesterday. You understand? So I realize that's a successful business. I realize my business is for free. I realize that's the Jesus business. You understand? I mean, Jesus is the business of being better than yesterday. So go and read the Bible more. You understand that Jesus gave you everything. You understand? You understand? Because those people understand that everything now happens when you take more action. You understand that when you take more action, you're investing more action. You understand? You're doing something to do much better than yourself. And that way you're investing action to make sure that you're profiting in a way that you're growing only. And you're never growing your money, you're growing your wisdom. Because your money will never grow its wisdom. You understand? I realize that money never grows your wisdom. I realize what grows your wisdom is you. You understand? Because when you're accumulating all this money, I mean, what are you going to do with $1 trillion when you're stupid? You understand? Because when you have $1 trillion and you're stupid, what are you going to do with it? I mean, are you going to go give it to pleasure? I mean, what are you going to do with the money? I mean, are you going to donate it? I mean, I don't know what you're going to do with it because you never ever be stuck on money. Because even though I have around $2,000 right now, you understand that I have more than that. I have more than $2,000. You understand? So realize that when you have money, I realize that it's more what you have in courses that's important. I realize I'm better than yesterday. I realize I've got all the money in the world. You understand? So be that kind of person. You understand? So you're never limiting yourself to any money and you're not limiting yourself to any number in the world. You have to understand it's never about how much money do you have in terms of numbers. I mean, your numbers is, are you better than yesterday or not? I don't care about, are you a millionaire or a billionaire when you're worse than yesterday and you look fat and ugly. I don't care about that. I don't care how much money you make when you're fat and ugly. You understand? I need you to realize, I need you sexy and that's it. I need you too sexy for your shirt today. You understand? I need you that type of sexiness. I never care about your money. I need you to understand that, are you able to better me or not? I don't care about your money. I mean, you can give me some money today and guess what? It may help me with living. Although you understand, are you able to give me some information because that's priceless? You understand? So when you're a person I realize when you're a person who understands that you give out money, I mean, I realize that it's called philanthropy. You're a person who's a philanthropist, and to give money, I realize to give money is philanthropy. So a capitalist is a person who is a politic, and there is also a Labour Party, which is also conservative, and you understand that those people who are politics are the ones who are always arguing, and they're 100 against 2. Or else it's 100 against 2 in politics. Or else it's never fair about what they're doing. You understand? So be a person who understands their communication style, that there are people who are dying, and there are some people who are growing. Although you understand that it's never the way to go. You have to understand the way to go is never between what's going on in the economics of the world, because that's politics. I promise you, what's important is growth. I promise you that. Growth is going to be much greater. You have to understand that I'm a person who's a politic of growth only. I mean, I'll just grow you. I'll grow the country. I'll grow the country in mindset work. I don't care about the money. I'll give all the money for free. You understand? I mean, you understand that the government is printing money and then you're working like a slave for the money. I mean, why don't you print the money and then give the money for free when you're printing the money already? You understand? So realize that money has no value. Realize that money has no value. I mean, what has value is you. And when you have value, you give value. And what are you really giving all your life? I realize you're never giving possessions, you're never giving money, you're never giving anything of the outside world. You're giving your heart. I realize you're giving your heart more. And when you have more of a heart, I promise you that's everything you ever give. I promise you that's everything. I promise you that's all the richness. I promise you that today, Jesus will just give you the words. I promise you that's all that is a present today. I promise you that's all you have to stick to every single day. You have to understand that Jim Rohn, and when you look at Jim Rohn, I promise you Jim Rohn has communication skills. I promise you I can listen to that guy always. I promise you I can always listen to him because he has the attitude. I love the attitude that he has. And that's the attitude I have right now, although I'm always better in my attitude. You understand? I never have his exact attitude, and I never have his exact persona, although I have my own persona with my own brand and my own face and all that. You have to understand that I have to listen more and more to Jim Rohn's attitude and all of my mentors, because it's really about who can speak faster and who can speak better. Because those people are the leaders, and those people are the entrepreneurs, and those people are solving problems. Because when you can solve problems, you can also do it quicker, and you have speed and effectiveness, and you'll be a person who's efficient in the inside. You're a person who's always effective in the inside. I mean, you're never right and never wrong about anything, although efficiency in the inside means you're just growing. I mean, efficiency alone means that you just love to be right or wrong. I never need you to be right or wrong, and you should understand it's never about arguing. I need to understand it's about growing. I mean, when you look at both parties, you understand that you grow them first, and that's it. I realise that you guys are happy with that. I realise that we have to grow these people though. We have to make sure we grow these people. You have to understand that we have to grow as a nation and as a world. So realise that our worlds are inside. So we start with ourselves first. You understand? We start with ourselves first, we grow ourselves, and then we grow other people. Whereas as I grow myself now, I'm growing you. I grow myself on camera, I grow myself in that life in my journal, I grow myself around quotes. I realise that I have to always grow in one way or another, and that way I'm always self-absorbed when I'm growing, and that way I'm always self-loving, I'm self-interested, and I have all the appetite in the world to grow, and I have all the passion in the world to grow. I realise that when you're a person who understands that when you're in a relationship with another person, I realise it's very helpful to make a list of reasons why you're with her, and also make sure to correspond in a better way. I used to be a person who used to have all these I realised I used to have these love languages that I used to read upon in this book, and there are 5 love languages. You understand that one of them was I needed to have sex. I realised I changed from having sex to just having the talk and the touch. I realised that's my love language. I need touch, and I also need communication. I never need the sex. I never need the sex though. I used to be the person who has the mindset of I have to have sex in order to feel love, and I used to have a touch as well. I don't even care about that anymore. I just care about touch. I realise I love to be hugged and all of that, and I also love to have a communication with my wife. Yes, you understand? So that's me now. I realise I changed my communication, which is my love handles and which is my love language. And understand that when you're a person who understands the 5 love, I realise when you understand the 5 love languages, you understand that there is a book on it. I need you to go read, or I need you to go read upon it. I need you to understand that sexual instinct and having sex is one love language, and the other one is communication, and another one is touch, and another one is doing something for another person, and the other person is doing something for you. And there is another one I have to remember. Although you have to understand that when you remember something, you write it down first. You write it down, and then you can revise it every single day. Whereas that John C. Maxwell has a beautiful technique where he always writes his ideas down. I realise he's always writing ideas down, and he's always doing something around his business, which is personal growth, and that's the only growth that you ever need. I realise that I love John C. Maxwell because he talks about a lot of Jesus Christ, and he talks about how Jesus Christ lived and all of this, and I love to dwell inside the information of Jesus Christ, and when John C. Maxwell is giving the information about Jesus Christ, because I'm really inside of myself, although you understand it's really about the information that John C. Maxwell is giving, and I just go where people who are giving more information are. And those people I realise that those people who are giving more information are the more successful ones. So be around those people, because when you go around, for example, a junkie who's got no courses, and then you go around somebody who goes and has 500 courses or 500 hours, I promise you go around the 500 hours guy or woman, and that way you understand that guy and woman means one. I mean, we're just equality, and that way you understand that I believe in equality, and that means we're all equal. I'm just equal with you. I realise I'm better than myself. I'm superior to myself. I'm never superior to you. I'm never inferior to you. I'm just superior to myself. And then, if you don't find me inspiring, I promise you that it's because you don't find yourself inspiring, because I'm better than yesterday, so why wouldn't you find me inspiring? You have to understand that it's just because of your mentality. You understand? So I'm just a person who understands I never get offended by people and how they look at me and what they say about me, because I'm always doing better than yesterday, and that's the whole point of life. Whereas that's how to be more self-absorbed. You have to understand it's about skills, you have to understand it's about courage, you have to understand it's about doing something much greater than yesterday, and you just lose yourself in your talk. I mean, lose yourself in your passion. I mean, lose yourself inside yourself. I mean, lose yourself in your own music. I mean, lose yourself in what you do every single day, and time will cease to exist. I mean, time has ceased to exist over here. I mean, I don't care about time anymore. Whereas I'm just here to do my work, and that's it. Whereas I just came here to do some work today, and that's it. I realize that my work is something passionate, and I have so much passion for my work because I realize I'm doing it much better than yesterday, and I'm doing something of much more caliber. than most people. You'll understand that I'm a person who's better than yesterday, and I'm giving more and giving more and giving more than them as well. You have to understand that you just be a person who's never competing with them, although you just grow them. And I'm giving them this information that I'm doing more than them. I'm giving them for free. I realize I'm not competing against them. You have to understand that a successful business is you write a book and then you never price it. I realize you never price it, because Mother Teresa would never price it, and Jesus would never price it. I realize that Jesus will never price the Bible either, so why would you price your content that you give? I realize you have to go and do something. You have to be a researcher, you have to be a scientist, you have to be something in life. So go and study upon what you're interested about, and you have to understand that growth needs to be a passion. I mean, self-love has to be a passion, so go and learn about it. I mean, be your own life coach. I mean, have self-help books in your life, and that way you're going to learn and grow. You're going to do something every day that's according to your interests, and that way I'm more focused on the inside today than ever before. Whereas each and every single day I'm always more focused and more stronger. I'm always a person who's staying away from most of the places, and I'm disciplining myself more and more. I realise over my next 73 years that I may live, you have to understand that I calculate everything in terms of the next 73 years. So, for example, when I realise when I say I'll stay away from a 9-to-5 job, I calculate 40 hours a week, and then I calculate over 73 years. I also calculate 15 hours minimal wage over 73 years. I realise I get a number. I realise that's a number I saved in terms of energy and also money and everything. You have to understand that you have to go and figure out to calculate up to the 100 mark. I realise that if you're a person who's 60 years of age, you also calculate for the next 40 years. I mean, you use the benchmark of 100. Or as I use the benchmark of 101 now for some reason, because I don't believe that I'll make it to 101. So be a person who understands you're just going to live longer and longer and longer. And I realize the best way to do that is make sure that you're a 6 p.m. rule type of guy, or woman, or a person. You have to understand that in that type of nature, you have the 1 hour rule as well. I realize the 1 hour rule as well is going to mean a lot in terms of the long term. Because when you're indoors for 23 hours, when you're 80 years of age, you understand the 1 hour rule means be inside your accommodation for 23 hours and do some work today. Do you understand? Because in the long term, that's a beautiful, beautiful way to live. You understand when you turn 100, you have the 1 hour rule, which states you be inside doors for 23 hours of the day, and in 1 hour you can go for a walk. Do you understand? Because that's what I'll do at 100 years of age. I realize that what I'll do at 100 years of age also is my 6 p.m. rule. Do you understand? So I can either switch to the 6 p.m. rule today or my 1 hour rule. Do you understand? And then I have my 5 minute rule, which states I only talk to you for 5 minutes, and that's it. I only talk to you for 5 minutes. I'm like, what do you need? What do you do? And where are you from? What is your nationality? And what are you here for? Why did you talk to me today? Do you understand? So go and ask them some questions and get some value from them. I realize you have to extract some value from them, and then you just say, I have to go now. I mean, you literally put your timer on them. Do you understand? So be that kind of person who understands that when you have an Apple Watch, for example, I mean, when you have only Samsung phones, I mean, go and get yourself an iPhone from another person and realize that you just go and say, I'll just connect my phone with I'll connect my Apple Watch with your phone, and what you do is you use their phone just for 5 seconds or something like that, and you'll realize you just do a snapshot and you understand that you get the results, and then you throw away your Apple Watch, and then you get yourself a Fitbit since you have a Samsung phone. You understand? So that way you understand that when you have an Apple Watch and you have no when you have an Apple Watch and you have no iPhone, you realize that you can not even see your results. So be a person who understands to just go and adapt to your technology. So if you have a Samsung phone, you get a Fitbit watch. Whereas when you have an iPhone, you get yourself an Apple Watch. So I don't know why it's like that. I realize it's competition between phones. You have to understand that Samsung's always going to win because Samsung's more affordable. Do you understand? I realize that what's more affordable is better than what's more expensive. Do you understand? So be that kind of person who understands that you go the affordable way, because even the iPhone can be affordable. I realize that the Samsung phone will never be expensive. So be that type of person who understands that the newest Samsungs and the newest phones today are going to be the most expensive, although you understand that Samsung phones have great quality. I realize they have great quality phones, and you understand that they're more affordable than the iPhones. You understand that when you're a person who has technology that's going to back you up with some information, you'll be more self-absorbed. As you can see me for the past hour, I've been doing this for the past 9 days. I've been looking at myself in the mirror for 27 hours. In a sense that, I mean, who else do I have to look at? I have to look at nobody else in my life. I just look at myself. I realize that for the next 100 years, I realize I'll be doing the street performances. I realize that every single time I have an economic crisis in the outside world, I'll be doing street performances because guess what? I'm still in front of people, and I'm still doing something amazing because that's the outside world's drama. I realize I'm never in the outside world. I realize I'm inside. So I'm always focusing on what's inside, and that way I'm always self-absorbed, and I'm always doing something that's really much better than yesterday, and I'm always doing something that's worth it. Do you understand? So here I am doing a course for 1 hour, and guess what? I'm recording myself, and I'm posting my poster to make sure no matter what, I promote myself along the way, and boosting my communication skills in the process, and being in front of people at the same time. Do you understand? So that's the whole point. And then guess what? Here I am helping you at the same time. I mean, that's 5 things I'm doing at the same time. Do you understand? I mean, that's multitasking. I mean, I'm doing 5 things at once right here. Do you understand? I'm doing 6 things while I'm also sitting down. Do you understand? I'm also making sure I'm living in the moment. You have to understand? I'm making sure to give you every single idea in the book that I can. I mean, everything that I learn in my daily life, I give it to you in the video. Otherwise, you'll never miss out on my day. Otherwise, everything in my day that I learn today, I give it to you in a video, and it can be in a topic that you've never even thought about. I make any type of topic, and then I just give you the information in that topic, and it relates. I realize that every single topic that I've ever made relates with every single topic I've ever made. I mean, how to do better is also how to plan. I mean, every single topic I've ever made is relating to each and every topic because it's about life itself. So each and every course is about life that I do, although it's named differently or it's named differently and inside different topics and in different topics. And that way you understand that, guys. I'll see you guys in the next video. Although, once again, you guys share me around, and I hope they enjoyed. I'll see you guys in the next video.